The great crystal hall stretched far beyond what human eyes could see, its walls carved from a single massive gemstone that had taken the builders 300 years to shape. Admiral Kim Dae-ho stood at the entrance and felt very small. The ceiling disappeared into darkness above him, and strange lights moved like living things through the crystal walls. This was the Galactic Council chamber on Kepler 442b, and today it would decide the fate of humanity. Kim Dae-ho walked slowly down the long path toward the center of the hall. His simple blue uniform looked plain next to the amazing armor and strange body changes of the alien beings around him. Some aliens had 6 arms covered in glowing scales. Others looked like giant insects with wings that made musical sounds. A few floated in the air inside bubbles of green liquid. All of them watched the human with eyes that showed no kindness. The sounds in the hall were like nothing on Earth. Clicking noises mixed with deep humming and high whistles. Translation devices turned these alien voices into words Kim Dae-ho could understand, but the meaning behind those words was clear even without machines. The aliens thought humans were weak and stupid. General Park So-min walked beside Kim Dae-ho. She was younger than the admiral, but her mind was sharp like a blade. She had studied alien war tactics for 15 years and knew how they thought. Her black hair was pulled back tight and her dark eyes missed nothing. She carried a small device that recorded everything she saw and heard. Today, that device might save the human race. They reached the center of the hall where a platform waited. Around them, thousands of alien beings sat in circles that rose up like a mountain. The noise grew louder as more aliens noticed the humans. Some made sounds that the translation devices said were laughter, but it did not sound friendly. A massive shape moved in the highest part of the hall. Overlord Vexithara was 12 feet tall with 6 arms that ended in claws. His scales changed, color from green to red as he became more excited. Scars covered his body from many battles and metal plates were built into his skull. When he spoke, his voice was like thunder. "Humans of the 3rd planet called Earth," Vexithara said through the translators. "You stand before the Hegemony Coalition. 12 great species have joined together to bring order to this part of the galaxy. Your kind has spread to 17 star systems without asking permission. This cannot continue." Kim Dae-ho looked up at the alien leader. He had fought in 3 wars and seen many terrible things, but he had never felt so alone. Around the hall, holographic displays showed the alien fleet. 50,000 warships of different shapes and sizes. Some were as long as cities. Others moved like metal snakes through space. All of them had enough weapons to destroy planets. "We offer you one choice," Vexithara continued. "Surrender now and return to your homeworld. Stay there and never leave again. Do this, and your species will live. Refuse, and we will remove you from the galaxy." War Prince Krelmoth stood up from his place near the front. He looked like a giant praying mantis, but with armor covering his green skin. His forearms moved constantly, and his compound eyes reflected the crystal lights like tiny mirrors. When he spoke, his mandibles clicked together, making a sound like breaking bones. "The mammals think they can fight us," Krelmoth said with sounds that became cruel laughter through the translators. "Look at their numbers. We counted their ships. 847 vessels in total. Our advanced scouts have more ships than their entire fleet." More alien voices joined in the laughter. The sound echoed through the crystal hall like a storm. Some aliens made gestures that clearly meant the same thing in any language. They thought humans were a joke. Park So-min watched the holographic displays with calm eyes. She memorized the ship types and their formations. The aliens showed their strength like children showing toys, not knowing they were giving away important secrets. Her recording device captured everything: fleet positions, ship designs, weapon placements, and most important of all, how the aliens thought about war. Kim Dae-ho waited for the laughter to stop. When it finally became quiet, he spoke in a clear voice that carried through the hall. "We request 48 hours to consider your offer." The silence that followed was complete. Then the laughter started again, louder than before. Vexithara's scales turned bright red, and his 6 arms gestured wildly. 48 hours to do what? Count your pitiful ships again? Perhaps you need time to teach your pilots how to surrender properly. War Prince Krellmoth's clicking grew so fast it sounded like machine gun fire. The mammals want time to run away and hide. But where can they go? We have ships watching every human world, every space station, every mining operation. There is nowhere to run. An alien that looked like a living tree made creaking sounds that became words. Why do you need time to accept the obvious? You cannot win. Mathematics does not lie. 50,000 is greater than 800. Another alien, this one shaped like a floating jellyfish, pulsed with purple light as it spoke. Perhaps they wish to pray to their primitive gods. Many inferior species do this before they die. Park So-min noticed something interesting in the alien displays. The formations they showed were perfect examples of standard galactic warfare. Every ship had its place in a pattern that had worked for thousands of years. The aliens fought like they had always fought, following rules that every spacefaring species knew. This was valuable information. Kim Dae-ho remained calm while the aliens made fun of humanity. He had expected this reaction. The aliens saw only numbers and ships and weapons. They could not imagine that humans might think differently about war. This blindness might be humanity's only advantage. "We understand your position," Kim Dae-ho said when the noise died down. "But humans have traditions. We must discuss important decisions with our leaders on Earth. 48 hours is not much to ask." Vexathara leaned forward on his platform. His massive head came closer to the humans and his breath smelled like sulfur. "Very well, mammals. We give you 2 of your planet's rotations. Use this time wisely. Study our fleet if you wish. Count our weapons. Calculate your chances. Mathematics will teach you what words cannot." The alien leader gestured to the holographic displays. They showed the hegemony fleet in perfect detail. Massive battleships with enough firepower to crack moons. Fast cruisers that could outrun anything humans had ever built. Carrier ships full of fighter craft that moved like angry wasps. And behind them all, command vessels protected by shields that had never been broken. "Look closely, humans," War Prince Krellmoth added. "See what real power looks like. Your species builds toys. We build instruments of absolute destruction." Park So-min looked at every detail while keeping her face blank. The aliens were proud of their fleet and wanted to frighten the humans with displays of power. They did not realize they were teaching their enemies exactly how their forces worked. She saw the command structures, the communication patterns, and the way different ship types worked together. Most importantly, she saw how they positioned themselves in space. The alien formations followed ancient patterns that had won wars across the galaxy for millennia. Every species that joined the galactic community learned these same tactics. They worked because they were efficient and powerful, but they also meant that alien fleets moved in predictable ways. As the presentation continued, Park So-min began to understand something that might be important. The aliens had never fought an enemy that did not follow the same rules they did. Every spacefaring species learned galactic warfare from the same sources. They all used similar tactics because those tactics had proven successful. But humans had learned to fight in the darkness between stars, far from any galactic influence. The session finally ended with formal words about deadlines and consequences. The alien representatives made it clear that humanity had one chance to surrender, peacefully. After 48 hours, the hegemony fleet would begin moving toward human space. Any resistance would result in the complete destruction of every human world. Kim Dae-ho and Park So-min walked back through the crystal hall while thousands of alien eyes watched them leave. The admiral's shoulders were straight, and his face showed no fear, but inside he felt the weight of his entire species resting on his decisions. Park So-min walked beside him, her mind already working on problems that seemed impossible to solve. Outside the hall, human transport ships waited to take them back to Earth. The journey would take 6 hours through hyperspace, giving them time to review everything they had learned. But both humans knew that conventional solutions would not work. The mathematics were clear and terrible. Humanity could not win a normal war against the hegemony coalition. As their ship lifted away from Kepler 442b, Kim Dae-ho looked back at the crystal hall one last time. In 2 days, the fate of humanity would be decided. The aliens expected surrender, or a quick, hopeless battle. They had no idea that humans might have a third option. Park So-min was already making notes about alien fleet formations and tactical preferences. Somewhere in the patterns she had observed there might be a weakness, but finding it would require thinking in ways that no galactic species had ever considered. The aliens had given humanity 48 hours to accept defeat. Instead, those hours would be used to attempt something impossible. The war room deep beneath Geneva buzzed with activity that never stopped. Holographic displays covered every wall, showing star maps, fleet positions, and countdown timers that marked humanity's remaining time. Admiral Kim Dae-ho stood in the center of it all, watching red dots that represented the alien armada slowly moving toward human space. Each dot was a warship that could destroy a city. There were 50,000 of them. General Park So-min spread her recordings across a large table where other military leaders could see them. The alien fleet formations glowed in blue light, showing every detail she had captured at the Galactic Council. Ship types, weapon placements, movement patterns, and command structures were all laid out like pieces of a puzzle. But no matter how they arranged the pieces, the picture always showed the same thing. Humanity could not win. Conventional tactics give us a 12% chance of destroying 10% of their fleet before complete defeat, reported General Bae Dong-wook, the head of strategic planning. His weathered face showed the strain of calculations that always ended badly. Hit-and-run attacks might extend the conflict to 3 weeks. Defensive positions around Earth could hold for perhaps 10 days. Captain Choi Min-ho studied the numbers on his personal display. At 32 years old, he was the youngest ship commander in the human fleet, but his tactical record was perfect. He had never lost a battle, but he had never faced anything like this either. What about splitting their forces? Make them chase us across multiple systems? They have enough ships to blockade every human world simultaneously, answered Commander Nam Ji-eun from her position at the intelligence station. Her job was understanding how aliens thought, and right now that knowledge felt like a curse. Their logistics are perfect. They can maintain full strength in 17 systems for years if necessary. The room fell silent except for the humming of computers and the distant sound of air recyclers. Everyone knew the mathematics were clear. Humanity's entire fleet was smaller than a single battle group in the alien armada. Traditional warfare would be suicide with extra steps. Dr. Lee Hyun-woo entered the war room carrying a secure briefcase that required 3 different scanners to open. He looked tired, with gray hair that stood up in odd directions and clothes that suggested he had not slept in days. But his eyes were bright with the kind of excitement that came from solving impossible problems. "I need to show you something that does not officially exist," Dr. Lee said as he connected his briefcase to the main display system. Security protocols required him to enter 17 different codes before the system accepted his data. For 15 years, my team has been working on theoretical applications of quantum mechanics to large-scale object displacement. The main holographic display changed to show complex mathematical equations that hurt to look at. Energy requirements, spatial coordinates, and probability calculations filled the air in glowing numbers. Most of the people in the room were military officers, not scientists, but they could see that the numbers were enormous. The quantum displacement array, Dr. Lee continued, theoretical technology that could move massive objects across vast distances instantaneously. We built it to relocate asteroids for mining operations, but the power requirements are so large that we never tested it on anything bigger than a space station. Admiral Kim Dae-ho leaned forward to study the data. How massive are we talking about? Could it move a fleet? The calculations suggest it could move anything, regardless of size, as long as we can generate enough power and position the displacement emitters correctly. But the energy requirements increase exponentially with mass and distance. Moving their entire fleet would require the combined power output of 12 solar systems. General Park So-min looked up from her alien fleet data with sudden interest. Dr. Lee, you said it could move anything. Does that include moving things to specific coordinates? The mathematics allow for precise positioning, yes. We could theoretically Place an object anywhere in the universe, assuming we can calculate the correct coordinates and generate sufficient power. Commander Nam Ji-un began to understand where this conversation was heading. You are not talking about fighting their fleet. You want to relocate it. The war room became very quiet as everyone realized what was being suggested. Instead of trying to destroy 50,000 alien warships, humanity would simply make them disappear. It was the kind of solution that would never occur to species that followed traditional galactic warfare rules. The technical challenges are enormous, Dr. Lee admitted. We would need to position displacement emitters around their entire fleet without being detected. The power generation requirements would drain every fusion reactor in human space, and we have never tested the technology on anything approaching this scale. Captain Choi Min-ho studied the quantum equations with growing excitement. But if it worked, their entire armada would be gone in seconds. No battle, no casualties on our side, just empty space where their fleet used to be. Where would we send them? Asked General Bae Dong-wook. Another star system? The other side of the galaxy. Dr. Lee's expression became very serious. The safest option would be intergalactic space, somewhere between galaxies where there are no stars, no planets, nothing but empty void. They would be stranded millions of light years from the nearest civilization. The implications of this hit everyone at the same time. It would not be a battle or even a defeat. It would be exile to the emptiest part of the universe, with no possibility of return. The alien fleet would simply cease to exist as far as galactic civilization was concerned. How long do we have to prepare? Admiral Kim Dae-ho asked. Their fleet will reach the edge of our solar system in 36 hours, reported Commander Nam Ji-un. Full deployment will take another 12 hours after that. If we are going to do this, everything must be ready when they arrive. Dr. Lee opened his briefcase and pulled out data storage devices that contained 15 years of secret research. The displacement emitters are already built. We have been preparing for this possibility since the first alien contact. But positioning them correctly will require precise knowledge of their fleet formation. General Park So-min smiled for the first time since returning from the Galactic Council. I have complete data on their formation patterns. They showed us everything at the council session. Ship positions, movement protocols, command structures. They were so confident that they used their presentation as a threat display. The pieces of an impossible plan began falling into place. Dr. Lee's team would prepare the quantum displacement array, while General Park calculated the exact positioning requirements. Captain Choi Min-ho would coordinate the placement of displacement emitters, disguising them as debris or defensive platforms. Commander Nam Ji-un would develop a cover story to explain why human forces were moving into specific positions. We need to make them think we are preparing for conventional warfare, Admiral Kim Dae-ho decided. They expect us to fight like every other species they have conquered. If they see anything unusual, they might change their formation or attack early. Engineer Yoon Tae-jin was called in to oversee the technical preparation. He was the best engineer in human space capable of building impossible devices from theoretical plans. His team had already begun modifying fusion reactors across 17 star systems to generate the power needed for the displacement array. The emitters must be positioned with mathematical precision, Yoon Tae-jin explained while showing holographic models of the device network. If even one emitter is misaligned by more than 3 meters, the entire system could fail or create a spatial distortion that destroys everything within a light year. Pilot Major Han Soo-bin received orders to prepare diversionary attacks that would position the alien fleet exactly where the humans needed them. Her fighter squadrons would engage in what appeared to be desperate, conventional tactics while actually herding 50,000 warships into a carefully calculated trap. The next 30 hours passed in controlled chaos as humanity prepared for the most audacious military operation in galactic history. Displacement emitters were hidden throughout the outer solar system, disguised as asteroid mining platforms, defense satellites, and even incorporated into human warships that would participate in the fake conventional battle. Dr. Lee worked without sleep, running final calculations and testing emitter alignment from the secret command center buried beneath Luna's surface. The quantum mathematics required perfect precision. A single error could send the alien fleet into a sun, create a black hole, or tear open a hole in space-time itself. General Park So-min coordinated with every ship captain in the human fleet, giving them specific instructions about positioning and timing. They thought they were preparing for a heroic last stand. Only a few people knew they were actually helping to aim the largest teleportation device ever constructed. Admiral Kim Dae-ho reviewed intelligence reports that showed the alien fleet approaching on schedule. Overlord Vexithara had sent messages demanding immediate surrender, but he seemed confident that humans would either give up or provide a brief, entertaining battle before being destroyed. "They still think we are going to fight conventionally," reported Commander Nam Ji-yoon. The alien armada emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of metal locusts blotting out the stars. 50,000 warships of every size and design spread across millions of cubic kilometers of space between Neptune and Uranus. The formation was perfect, exactly matching the patterns General Park So-min had recorded at the Galactic Council. Each ship knew its place in a battle plan that had conquered hundreds of worlds. Overlord Vexithara stood on the bridge of his flagship, a massive dreadnought called the Bone Crusher that was 3 kilometers long and bristled with enough weapons to sterilize planets. His 6 arms gestured at displays showing the pathetic human fleet moving to intercept them. 800 human vessels arranged in defensive formations that any military academy student could counter. "Look how they position themselves," Vexithara said to his staff officers, his scaled face showing amused contempt. Textbook defensive patterns from their primitive military manuals. They learn galactic warfare tactics but understand nothing about how to use them properly. War Prince Krelmoth observed the human formations from his command ship nearby. His compound eyes analyzed every detail, while his mandibles clicked with satisfaction. The mammals follow the old patterns exactly. Formation Delta 7 with supporting cruiser wings in standard configuration 3. They might as well have sent us their battle plans directly. Admiral Ro Sang-wook commanded the human fleet from his flagship, knowing that most of his captains believed they were about to die in a hopeless battle. His orders were simple: engage the alien vanguard with conventional tactics, while positioning them exactly where Dr. Lee needed them. 600 human warships accelerated towards certain destruction, their crews unaware they were the final component in humanity's greatest gamble. The first engagement began when human long-range missiles reached the alien screening force. Explosions lit up the darkness as defensive systems destroyed most of the incoming weapons. A few missiles penetrated alien shields, causing minor damage that the aliens barely noticed. The mathematics of the battle were exactly what everyone expected. Major Han Subin led her fighter squadrons in what appeared to be a desperate charge against the alien formation. 200 small craft diving into the teeth of point defense, systems that could track and destroy thousands of targets simultaneously. Her pilots flew with courage that impressed even the aliens, but courage could not change mathematics. "The mammal fighters attack with admirable bravery," observed War Prince Krelmoth, as his weapons destroyed human craft by the dozens. "They know they cannot win, yet they continue to fight. There is something almost noble about such futile determination." What the aliens did not see was the precision behind the apparent desperation. Every human attack was calculated to draw alien ships into specific positions. Major Han's fighters died by the hundreds, but their sacrifice moved the enemy fleet exactly 3,000 kilometers closer to the target coordinates. Admiral Ro's conventional battle plan was forcing the aliens to respond with their own conventional tactics. Engineer Yoon Tae-jin monitored the positioning data from his hidden control station on Luna's dark side. Thousands of displacement emitters disguised as space debris, defense platforms, and communication satellites surrounded the alien fleet. Each emitter was a masterpiece of engineering, capable of generating quantum fields that could bend space-time itself. Together they formed a web of invisible energy that could relocate anything within their area of effect. "Target positioning is optimal," Yoon Tae-jin reported to Dr. Lee through encrypted channels. "All emitters show green status. Power. Generators are at 97% of maximum output. We are ready to initiate displacement sequence on your command." Dr. Lee sat in the secret command center buried beneath Luna's surface, surrounded by displays showing quantum field calculations that had never been attempted before. 15 years of theoretical work had led to this moment. The mathematics were perfect, but mathematics and reality did not always agree. In 30 minutes, humanity would learn whether their impossible plan could actually work. The conventional battle continued above them as human ships fought and died according to plans that served a greater purpose. Captain Choi Min-ho's cruiser exchanged fire with an alien battleship, taking heavy damage while maneuvering the enemy into perfect position. His crew thought they were buying time for Earth's defenses. They had no idea they were aiming the largest weapon ever conceived. Overlord Vexathara watched the battle with growing impatience. The humans were fighting exactly as predicted, but they were lasting longer than expected. Their ships were weak, but their tactics showed some cleverness in how they used terrain and positioning to extend the engagement. Why do they not simply surrender? Vexathara asked his staff. They must see that resistance is hopeless. Every minute they continue fighting costs them ships they cannot replace. His tactical officer, a four-armed reptilian named General Tuskhar, analyzed the human battle patterns with professional interest. They appear to be following standard defensive protocol 7, my lord. They are trying to force us into closer engagement where their smaller ships might have some advantage. It is competent but ultimately futile. War Prince Krelmoth had moved his forces into the perfect position to crush the human center formation. His insectoid features showed satisfaction as thousands of his ships prepared to deliver the killing blow. The human admiral was competent, but competence was not enough when facing overwhelming force. General Park So-min observed the battle from Earth's command center, watching as every piece fell into place exactly as calculated. The alien formation was now centered precisely on the coordinates Dr. Lee had specified. 50,000 warships arranged in their perfect, predictable patterns, completely unaware that they were sitting in the middle of a carefully prepared trap. All targets are in optimal position, she reported to Admiral Kim Dae-ho. Dr. Lee's calculations show maximum displacement efficiency. If we are going to do this, now is the time. Admiral Kim Dae-ho looked at the displays showing his fleet being slowly destroyed by superior alien firepower. Good people were dying to maintain the illusion that this was a conventional battle. In 5 minutes, their sacrifice would either save humanity or prove that some problems could not be solved with cleverness alone. Engineer Yoon Tae-jin ran final systems checks while quantum field generators built to maximum power. The displacement emitters were drawing energy from fusion reactors across 17 star systems, creating power levels that had never been achieved before. If the containment systems failed, the explosion would be visible from other galaxies. Power generation. At maximum sustainable levels, Yoon Tae-jin reported, all emitter networks show perfect alignment. Quantum field matrix is stable and ready for activation. Displacement sequence can initiate on your command, Dr. Lee. The battle above reached its climax as alien forces prepared to overwhelm the human defenders. Overlord Vexathara's flagship moved into position to deliver the final attack that would break human resistance forever. War Prince Krelmoth coordinated his battle groups for maximum effect. General Tuskhar prepared bombardment systems that could crack planets. None of them noticed the strange energy readings that were beginning to register on their long-range sensors. The quantum fields generated by thousands of hidden emitters were invisible to normal detection systems, but they were building to levels that would soon become impossible to ignore. Captain Choi Min-ho's damaged cruiser limped away from the alien formation, its mission complete. His ship had helped position the final alien battle group exactly where Dr. Lee needed them. Behind him, 50,000 enemy warships prepared for victory, unaware that they were about to experience something that had never happened in galactic military history. Major Han Subin's remaining fighters pulled back from their attack runs, having accomplished their true mission of fine-tuning alien positions. She had lost 2/3 of her squadrons, but their sacrifice had moved the enemy fleet with mathematical precision. Every death had served the greater plan. Admiral Ro Sang-wook sent his final status report as his battered fleet retreated according to the predetermined script. All objectives achieved. Enemy forces are in optimal position. Human fleet withdrawing to secondary defensive positions. The rest is up to you, Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee's hands moved over controls that channeled more power. than any human device had ever used. Quantum field equations that existed only in theory were about to become reality. The mathematics were perfect, but reality had a way of finding flaws that mathematics missed. "Initiate displacement sequence," he commanded, and pressed the control that would either save humanity or destroy it. Around the alien fleet, thousands of hidden emitters activated simultaneously. Quantum fields that existed outside normal space-time began to wrap around 50,000 warships like invisible hands. The aliens had 17 seconds to realize something was wrong. Then the laws of physics would be temporarily suspended, and the largest military force in galactic history would learn what it meant to underestimate human ingenuity. Overlord Vexithara was the first to notice the energy readings that suddenly appeared on every sensor array. "What is that? Where are those quantum signatures coming from?" Reality bent. For exactly 3.7 seconds, the laws of physics that governed the universe suspended themselves in a small region of space between Neptune and Uranus. Quantum fields generated by thousands of hidden emitters wrapped around the hegemony Armada like invisible fingers, preparing to relocate 50,000 warships to a place where no star had ever shone. Dr. Lee Hyunwoo watched his instruments from the command center beneath Luna's surface as power levels peaked beyond anything ever recorded. Fusion reactors across 17 star systems channeled their entire output through quantum field generators that existed on the edge of theoretical possibility. The mathematics were perfect, but mathematics had never attempted anything this ambitious. Overlord Vexithara felt his flagship shudder as space-time distortions began affecting the ship's internal systems. Warning alarms screamed throughout the Bone Crusher, as gravitational fields fluctuated in ways that should not be possible. His 6 arms moved frantically over control panels that showed readings he could not understand. "Report!" Vexithara commanded, his bridge crew. But none of them had answers. Their instruments detected energy levels that exceeded the output of entire star systems. Space itself was behaving in ways that violated everything they knew about physics. War Prince Krelmoth's compound eyes reflected terror as his navigation systems reported impossible data. According to his instruments, his ship was simultaneously in 17 different locations at once. The quantum distortions were affecting every system on every ship in the fleet, but none of the alien crews understood what was happening to them. "My prince," his tactical officer reported with a voice that cracked with fear. "Our position readings are fluctuating beyond measurement. Space-time appears to be folding around us. I do not understand the mechanism, but we are definitely not where we were 5 seconds ago." Engineer Yoon Tae-jin monitored the displacement sequence from his hidden control station, watching as quantum field harmonics reached perfect resonance. 15 years of careful preparation culminated in this moment, when human ingenuity would accomplish something that galactic civilization considered impossible. "Field alignment is perfect," he reported to Dr. Lee through encrypted channels. "All emitters functioning within acceptable parameters. Displacement matrix is stable and ready for final phase execution. We are 3 seconds from completion." The alien fleet existed in a state between states, neither fully present in normal space, nor completely translated to their destination. 50,000 warships hung suspended in quantum fields that prepared to carry them across distances that even light would take millions of years to travel. General Tuskar stared at sensor readings that made no sense as his instruments detected gravitational distortions unlike anything in their databases. "Overlord, we appear to be caught in some kind of space-time manipulation field. The energy requirements for such an effect would be enormous, but the humans lack that level of technology." Admiral Ro Sang-wook watched from his retreating flagship as the alien formation began to shimmer like a mirage. His tactical displays showed the enemy fleet, but the images flickered and distorted as quantum effects interfered with normal sensor operations. In 30 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. "Sir," his sensor officer reported with awe in his voice, "the alien fleet is changing somehow. Their quantum signatures are shifting in ways I cannot explain. It appears they are being affected by some kind of displacement field." Captain Choi Min-ho observed the phenomenon from his damaged cruiser, not understanding what he was seeing but recognizing that something unprecedented was occurring. The alien ships that had seemed so solid and threatening moments before now appeared translucent as if they were fading from reality itself. Dr. Lee's fingers moved over final control sequences as the displacement array reached maximum effectiveness. Quantum field equations that had existed only in theory for 15 years were now reshaping reality according to mathematical principles that no other species had ever conceived. Final phase initiation in 3, 2, 1, execute. He announced and activated the sequence that would either save humanity or tear a hole in the fabric of space-time. The universe complied. In an instant too brief for consciousness to register, 50,000 alien warships ceased to exist in their current location. The quantum displacement array translated them across distances that had no meaning, carrying them beyond the edge of the galaxy to a region of space where no civilization had ever traveled, where the hegemony Armada had filled space with metal and weapons and the promise of destruction. Now there was only emptiness. Stars that had been hidden behind alien hulls suddenly became visible again. Space debris that should have been there but was not testified to the completeness of the displacement. The silence that followed was absolute. Admiral Ro Sang-wook stared at tactical displays that showed empty space where moments before the largest military force in galactic history had prepared to destroy humanity. His instruments detected no trace of the alien fleet. No debris, no energy signatures, no indication that 50,000 warships had ever existed in this location. "Sir," his communications officer whispered, "they are gone. All of them. Every ship in the alien fleet has vanished from our sensors." Captain Choi Min-ho's tactical officer reported similar readings with a voice that shook with disbelief. "Captain, our instruments show no trace of enemy forces. The entire alien armada has disappeared without leaving any evidence of their presence." Major Han Subin led her surviving fighters in a sweep of the area where the alien fleet had been positioned. Her sensors detected nothing but empty space and the distant glow of stars that had been hidden behind enemy formations. 50,000 warships had simply ceased to exist, 2.3 million light-years away, in the empty void between galaxies where no star had ever burned. The hegemony Armada materialized in perfect formation. For a moment, Overlord Vexithara's instruments showed normal readings as the displacement effects faded and reality reasserted itself. Then the horrifying truth became apparent. "Navigation report," Vexithara commanded, his voice steady despite the fear growing in his chest. "My lord," his navigation officer replied with barely controlled panic. "We are no longer in the Milky Way galaxy. According to stellar positioning data, we appear to be in intergalactic space approximately 2.3 million light-years from our previous position." War Prince Krelmoth's bridge erupted in chaos as his crew realized the magnitude of their situation. His compound eyes reflected the cosmic background radiation of empty space as he stared at displays showing nothing but darkness in every direction. "Impossible," he clicked through his mandibles. "No technology can displace objects across such distances. The energy requirements would exceed the output of entire civilizations." General Tuskar studied sensor readings that confirmed their worst fears. "Overlord, there are no familiar star patterns visible. No navigation references, no civilizations within detection range. We are completely isolated in the void between galaxies." The alien fleet that had seemed so powerful and unstoppable now floated helplessly in the emptiest region of the universe. Their weapons were useless against an enemy they could not reach. Their shields provided no protection against the vast loneliness of intergalactic space. Back in the Sol system, Dr. Lee monitored the quantum field dispersal as the displacement array powered down. The emitters had served their purpose and were now shutting down according to predetermined sequences. The most ambitious engineering project in human history had succeeded beyond all expectations. "Displacement sequence complete," he reported to Admiral Kim Dae-ho through secure channels. "All quantum fields have dispersed safely. The alien fleet has been successfully relocated to coordinates in intergalactic space. They are no longer a threat to human civilization." Engineer Yoon Tai-jin began the process of safely shutting down the massive power systems that had made the displacement possible. Fusion reactors across 17 star systems gradually reduced output as the quantum field generators powered down. The most dangerous part of the operation was now complete. Admiral Kim Dae-ho stood in Earth's command center, watching displays that showed empty space where the alien threat had been. The mathematics of the situation had changed completely in less than 4 seconds. Humanity had faced extinction, and instead had achieved the impossible. All stations report successful mission completion, he announced to the command center. The alien fleet has been neutralized through non-lethal displacement. Threat level has been reduced to 0. General Park So-min reviewed the tactical data with satisfaction. Her analysis of alien fleet formations had been perfect. Every ship had been positioned exactly where the displacement array needed them to be. The aliens' own predictable tactics had made them vulnerable to a solution they could never have imagined. The human fleet began returning to defensive positions around Earth, their crews still not understanding exactly what had happened. They had prepared for a desperate last stand and instead had witnessed the complete disappearance of an overwhelming enemy force. Captain Choi Min-ho sent status reports to Earth Command, while his damaged cruiser limped toward repair facilities. 6 months after the disappearance of the hegemony Armada, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The same crystal hall that had witnessed humanity's apparent helplessness now buzzed with fearful whispers and nervous energy. Representatives from dozens of species gathered to discuss something that had never happened before in 40,000 years of recorded galactic history: the complete vanishing of the largest military force ever assembled. Ambassador Oh Ye-jin walked down the long crystal path that Admiral Kim Dae-ho had traveled half a year earlier. But where the Admiral had been met with laughter and contempt, Ambassador Oh was greeted with respectful silence and careful attention. The simple human uniform that had seemed so primitive before now commanded a different kind of respect. The holographic displays that had once shown the overwhelming power of the hegemony fleet now showed empty space and unanswered questions. Search fleets from 17 different species had scoured nearby star systems, looking for any trace of 50,000 missing warships. They had found nothing but cosmic dust and the silence of empty space. Counselor Zeph Tal, a tall being with blue skin and silver eyes, spoke for the moderate faction that had always advocated peaceful coexistence. His voice carried through the hall with careful diplomacy. Ambassador O, the galactic community seeks to understand what happened to the hegemony fleet. Our best scientists cannot explain how such a large force could simply disappear. Ambassador O stood at the center of the hall where Kim Dae-ho had faced mockery 6 months before. Her voice was calm and measured, but every word carried weight that had not existed before humanity demonstrated its capabilities. The hegemony coalition chose to threaten the existence of our species, she replied. Humanity responded with methods appropriate to the scale of the threat. We regret that such measures were necessary, but we will not apologize for defending ourselves. Elder Nitharos, the ancient keeper of galactic military history, had spent months analyzing what little data existed about the incident. His research covered 40 millennia of warfare between civilizations, but nothing in the historical records provided precedent for what humanity had accomplished. In 40,000 years of recorded conflict, Elder Nitharos announced to the HFY Assembly, "No civilization has achieved the strategic displacement of enemy forces on this scale. The humans have fundamentally altered the nature of interstellar warfare through methods we do not understand." The political implications rippled through every aspect of galactic civilization. Trade agreements that had been stalled for decades were suddenly expedited as species rushed to establish positive relationships with humanity. Territorial disputes involving human colonies were quietly resolved in favor of human claims. The mathematics of galactic politics had changed overnight. Dr. Lee Hyun-woo, now Director of Advanced Defense Research, worked in laboratories that had tripled in size and funding. Other species desperately wanted to understand quantum displacement technology, but the mathematical principles involved were beyond most alien civilizations. Humanity had developed the technology in isolation, thinking in ways that galactic science had never considered. The requests for technical cooperation increased daily. Dr. Lee reported to the human leadership. 17 species have offered massive trade concessions in exchange for quantum displacement theory. But the mathematics require thinking patterns that most alien minds cannot follow. General Park So-min, now Supreme Commander of Human Defense Forces, implemented new military doctrines based on humanity's changed position in galactic politics. Human fleets no longer needed to be large enough to fight conventional wars. Instead, they served as mobile reminders of what had happened to those who threatened Earth. Deterrence through demonstrated capability, she explained to her staff officers. Every alien commander knows that we possess technology that can relocate their entire fleet to intergalactic space. That knowledge is more effective than any number of conventional weapons. The arms race that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Traditional weapons development focused on more powerful ships and better defensive systems. But humanity had proven that conventional military thinking was obsolete. Other species scrambled to develop technologies that could counter or replicate quantum displacement effects. Captain Choi Min-ho, promoted to admiral and given command of the new rapid response fleet, led small human formations on patrol missions throughout known space. His ships were not designed to fight large battles. Instead, they demonstrated human presence and reminded everyone of the fate of the hegemony Armada. The psychological effect is remarkable, Admiral Choi reported from his flagship. Alien fleets that encounter our patrols immediately alter course to avoid any appearance of threatening behavior. Fear of displacement has become a more effective deterrent than actual military force. Commander Nam Ji-yoon, now head of the Galactic Intelligence Division, analyzed the changing patterns of alien behavior and political alignment. Her report showed a fundamental shift in how other species viewed humanity and calculated the risks of conflict. Traditional military analysis is obsolete when applied to human capabilities, she concluded in her monthly briefing. Alien commanders can no longer predict the outcome of conflicts using conventional calculations. This uncertainty has made most species extremely cautious about any actions that might be interpreted as hostile. The human colonies that had been vulnerable targets 6 months earlier now grew rapidly under the protection of their homeworld's demonstrated capabilities. Mining operations expanded into previously contested territories. Trade routes that had been dangerous became secure as potential threats reconsidered the wisdom of attacking human interests. Engineer Yoon Tae-jin led teams that refined and improved quantum displacement technology based on lessons learned from the hegemony operation. The new systems required less power and could be deployed more quickly, making the threat of displacement even more credible. Each improvement makes the technology more practical for defensive use, Yoon Tae-jin explained to Admiral Kim Dae-ho, who had returned to Earth to oversee the integration of new capabilities. We can now deploy displacement fields within hours, rather than days, making immediate response to threats possible. But success brought its own burdens. Ambassador Oh found herself managing relationships with species that approached humanity with mixtures of respect, fear, and desperate curiosity. The simple goal of being left alone had been replaced by the complex responsibility of managing galactic politics from a position of overwhelming advantage. Power creates obligations, she observed during a private meeting with Admiral Kim Dae-ho. Other species expect us to solve problems that they cannot handle themselves. Our technology has made us responsible for maintaining stability throughout this region of the galaxy. Admiral Kim Dae-ho, now in semi-retirement but still consulted on major decisions, spent his time teaching at the expanded Earth Military Academy. His students were young humans who would inherit a galaxy where their species commanded respect and fear in equal measure. We did not seek this position, he told his students during lectures that became legendary throughout human space. We were forced to demonstrate our capabilities to survive. But now that we have shown what we can do, we must be worthy of the responsibility that comes with such power. The Academy's curriculum expanded to include studies that no human military school had ever needed before. Galactic diplomacy, multi-species psychology, and the ethics of possessing weapons that could relocate entire civilizations. The simple goal of defending Earth had evolved into managing humanity's role as a galactic superpower. Major Han Soo-bin, promoted to general and given command of the Fighter Training Division, prepared new generations of pilots for a galaxy where human forces served different purposes than before. Her students learned tactics designed not to win battles, but to demonstrate capabilities and deter conflicts. The goal is never to fight, she taught her pilots. Our presence must be enough to prevent conflicts from starting. Every engagement that does not happen is a victory for human diplomacy, backed by demonstrated strength. Reports from deep space. Monitoring stations occasionally detected signals from the region where the hegemony fleet had been displaced. Long-range sensors picked up faint transmissions from intergalactic space, evidence that some alien ships had survived their exile to the void between galaxies. The messages, when finally decoded, told a story of desperation and slow defeat. Overlord Vexithara's final transmissions spoke of ship after ship going dark as life support systems failed. War Prince Krelmoth's last communication was a warning to any who might receive it. Never underestimate human ingenuity. They are dying. Alone in the emptiest part of the universe, Dr. Lee observed when the intelligence reports reached Earth. Their technology was superior, their numbers overwhelming, their tactics proven effective, but they could not imagine solutions that existed outside their understanding of warfare. The transformation of galactic politics continued as humanity settled into its new role. Trade flourished under the protection of human technology that made conventional piracy impossible. Scientific cooperation increased as species sought to understand principles that human minds had discovered in isolation.